Yeah, hi there, and welcome back. So let us continue with our lecture, and let us see about the last operator. So if you go to the last operator, you can see that emits only the last item or the last item made by some condition. So which means we can add some condition emitted by an observable. So the item that has been emitting by the observable, we can add some condition, or let's say we want to emit only the last item from that observable, we can do that. So if say 1 2 3 4, that means you get a 4, and if you move this 1 to at the end, you can see that only the 1 is output at the end. And if you move a 3, then you can see that you get a 3 over here. So you can see that only the last item get at the come out from the observable. Observable is emitting some value, and we say we only want the last item from this observable. Then we can get only the on next is only we get the last item. So let's go and see in a practical way that how we can do that one. So let us create a function over here, and I have just a function and the last last operator, and the return type is of the observable, and the observable of, let's say, a user. And then we will say that the return the observable, and I think from iterable, let's make use of the from iterable, and I want to pass the user list over here. So we will pass a list of the users, and then we will get the user as the output. If you go over here, and we will say that it's a last operator, and I can apply that filter, that the last, and in the last I will say that if you go to the implementation of this last, it says that the by default item to emit if the current observable is empty. So we can pass some condition over there that if that particular list is empty, or if the emitted item is empty, then it should have some default item. And if you go on the top, you say that returns are single that emits only the last item emitted by the current observable, or a default item of the current completed without emitting any value. So we can also set the default item. Let's say if there is no item in that particular list, or whatever is coming out from the observable, there is no item. So we can also set a default value. So here we can actually add a default value. So for that, if we go over here, and we need to get a user, so I will take the first one. Let's take the first one, and if there is an empty result, then we get the last one from this default one, and then I can subscribe to it, and after subscribe we can add the same. So I'll just copy from here. Is it the same? Just copy it and paste it over here. What does it says? I'm not getting the IT, I'm not getting it. So what I'm getting over here, I think I don't have on complete over here. Yeah, why I'm not getting on complete is if I go to the observable, it says its return type is of single, and the single doesn't have the return type is before. If you take a look, and let me go and show you that one. If I go to the filterable, and if I take a look on this filterable, so let me uncomment this one. If I go to the filterable implementation, is returning the observable. You can see the observable. So observable has let me go over here. The observable over here, when we subscribe it, we have on next, on error, and on complete. But whereas if we go to the let us go to the, where is that one? If I go to the last, it says its return type is of the single. So single doesn't have the on error, on complete. So if you go over here, implementation of single, then there you can see here, you can go and read through all of this description. But what actually it says is that the return type of the last is returning a single. It's not returning an observable, it's returning a single, which is another kind of an observable. We will see it on later. But it says that it's the return type is of single, so we cannot have the unfinished over here. Whether it's whether you get an item on success, or you get an error. So there is only an on next or on error. So if you have, or if your condition is met, or if there is an item that you are emitting, it has some value, it will go to the on next. But if there is no error, if there is an error, it will just go to an error, but there is no complete over here on the if we get use of the single observable. You can see that. Note that this is by design subscription via the single observable. It's a single observable. You can see it's not an observable but a single observable. That is another kind of the observable we will take a look on later. So let's go and go back to our, and let me comment this one out. And I think that's it. So let us try to run our application. And if we go to the logcat, and we got the last one. So if you take a look there, we get the user's ID is 6, name is demo, and the age is of 22. So that means if we go over to the operator, and this is the last one that we are getting from here. And let's say if we have an empty list of the users, so I will just let me just duplicate this one, and I will just say user empty empty list, and let me remove all of this and let me call it as a empty list. Let us create an empty list over here of the user, and then we will pass this empty list of user over here. And now this, since this is an empty, now we should be able to get the default one, since this is a default value. So if I run this application, we should get the ID1 demo1 of 15. So if you go to the logcat, we get that one. So this means that we are getting the default one. And also there are other options, like if I comment this one, and if I go over here dot and last image. So if I give a last image, then we don't have to provide the default value over here. So if I go and let me go to the let me run this one first, and let us go to the logcat, and let us see what we get. We don't get anything over here because that the list is of empty. So if I go over here, we have passed the empty list over there. We didn't get any value because of this is an empty. And then we will just pass the user list over here, which has some value. And if I go and run this application, we should get the last one. So last element over here. We don't have to provide any of this default value over here. And you can see that we get the last one. And let us see the another one, which is of let's say dot last or error. So if you want to get an error, which gives a single user or the error. So if I go over here, last or the error, and if I pass over here the empty list that we have. So if I pass, let's see what we get. Let's see whether we can get an error or not. So if I run this application, and let's wait for the application to come up. So we get the on error. This means no such element exception. So which means that this list is in empty, and if you want to get an error, then we can make use of the last or the error. So that's all, and hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll come up with some of the more interesting topic on the next lecture. Till then, have a great day.